You had 5 starters that had at least plus 20 on the plus-minus meter. You basically had R.J. Barrett continuing to play
another 30-point
exceptionally well. It's nice to have Nerlens Noel back in the middle.
Yeah.
Mitchell Robinson was a monster around the boards, and this is a team that they were playing against that had won 6 in a row.
That's right.
And so I look,
had some COVID protocol stuff last night.
They did, but every team's dealing with all this stuff.
Yeah.
But here's the deal: that's the team that we saw last year. I mean, I don't even know if they had one game that they played that well in last year.
Oh, they did a couple.
I don't. This game here was about from start to finish. I don't know what Thibodeau said to them. I don't know what Julius Randle said to them. I don't know what it was. But I have to say, like, you were waiting for, like, Doncic to go off. And all of a sudden, here comes the run. There were a couple missed, in the third quarter, a couple missed shots by the Knicks. And you're thinking, all right, they're going to run. And Dallas never, ever got it going. Now, they missed a lot of shots, too. But look, that was enjoyable. That was fun basketball.
It was great. It did remind me of last year. There was a lot of ball movement. You didn't see as much isolation with Julius Randle. Julius Randle had a nice night. He didn't try to do everything. R.J. Barrett, back-to-back 30-point games. I mean, everything you said was right. I mean, and they're back to 500, which is something that you look for because they hadn't been under or above 500 or 500 since early December. So that's a good thing. I don't know exactly what this team is capable of outside of sneaking into the playoffs or being a play-in team or maybe at the very best getting up to a 6 seed. So you think about the trade deadline in that regard. But as far as last night in a vacuum,
that was a great night.
It was the really best good night they have been the entire year.
Yes,
and it gave you some hope for the rest of the season.
Right. So they know they could do it. They know that they can out hustle another team. They can play hard. They can get rebounds, and they were healthy. I mean, Nerlens Noel, not an offensive juggernaut by any stretch of the imagination, but he is a difference maker. And I hope they find places for Taj Gibson to play and Nerlens Noel to play and Mitchell Robinson to play. I mean, it's a little bit of an embarrassment of riches right now in terms of having players that can, give other players a blow in the, in the middle of the game or whatever. I just, because Taj basically played his ass off, when Nerlens Noel was out and when Mitchell Robinson was out, and there was a lot on his shoulders, and I believe he deserves to play. Again, I always say, you want players to have skin in the game. You don't want players just to show up and play when guys are hurt and then give you their all and then all of a sudden go sit on the bench. Now, last night was a good night possibly to get Taj Gibson a rest, which is fine, which is you want to play that game, you can play that game too. But again, like last year we were talking about, look, this team's not winning a championship. We know that. We know they're not winning a championship. But they can play enjoyable basketball, they can play winning basketball, and they can get to the playoffs. That's the thing. And we saw it last night, like in full bloom. That was by far their best game of the year, and because defensively they played well, they held them, under 90 points.
Yeah, 85. Yeah.
And then you're R.J. Barrett is dropping down threes, man. And that one shot that he hit from the corner was unbelievable. So, but anyway, be that as it may, like all the bitching and complaining we've been doing because of the lack of what we perceived as effort, and they were missing shots, and the whole thing with Julius Randle, got wiped away last night by their best game. Now, moving forward, they go to Atlanta on Saturday, and then they have 4 home games at home. Let's see if they can steal one from Atlanta. Why not? Atlanta's got their issues. And let's see if they can come home and start playing like they played the last few games at home, where playing at the Garden becomes an advantage for them as opposed to a disadvantage.
Yeah, which it has been most of the year. I don't know how far you looked ahead of the schedule, but they got that really rough road trip in February out on the West Coast.
Listen. It's to me, it's really, you know what it is. It's one quarter, one half.
You know what? You've gotten so far away from that stuff.
But I try to look a little forward. You got Charlotte, Minnesota.
You're a look-ahead guy these days.
You got Charlotte, Minnesota, New Orleans, and L.A. coming to L.A. Clippers coming to the Garden after Atlanta game.
Saturday. Yes, right. Absolutely.
So let's just take that little 5-game streak.
See, look at you. This is what you do.
What I'd like to see is 4-1, 5-0 in that streak.
Okay.
And
That'd be
that
nice,
can be done
wouldn't
with
it?
those teams.
That what you'd like to see. It's undefeated
That's what I like
in the
to
next
see.
five.
Hey, listen,
Not
they've
asking
won
much.
4 out of their last 5.
Yeah, sure.
So it's won 4 out of the next 5, or 5 out of the next 5.
Yeah, if they end up doing that, then you're going to have to think, all right, what are we doing at the trade deadline? Are they
This
adding?
is a moment. This
They
is a
going
moment. Now,
for it?
here we are.
What are they doing?
Right, here we are. This is a moment of their season. Maybe they're all feeling healthy. Maybe they're all feeling great about what's going on. RJ's getting serenaded by the Garden, which is great. But now let's keep it going. Let's 4 out of the last 5, and now win 4 of the next 5, or 5 out of the next 5, and then you're sitting there with a winning streak of 9 out of 10.
Yeah,
That's how you start separating yourself and getting yourself back into playoff contention. They're not that far out of the lead in their own division, but it really comes down to the conference. They're sitting there kind of like a middling team, but last night they didn't play like a middling team.
no, they didn't, and
They destroyed Dallas last night.
It does give you a little bit of hope. I'm not quite where you are with it. I need to see more.
But I've seen it over the last 5 games.
Yeah, sure, and they
now
got
let's see
themselves
it over
back
the
to
next 5
500, and
games.
that's the first step. The NBA it's a very difficult assessment when you're thinking about the top teams and who can do some damage or not. And the Knicks are not in that group right now, but
They're getting there.
But they're getting a little bit better. I'm really curious as to what they do come trade deadline time. I really am.
So Damian Lillard, by the way, anybody that's thinking about Damian Lillard, he's going under the knife.
Yeah, I know.
So he's, forget him. I don't really know what they can do. The big question is, where is Ben Simmons going, and how is that going to impact the Sixers? Because obviously the Sixers in your division, in your conference, that's a big decision getting ready, I believe, to be made.
Yeah, and they had a meeting yesterday, I'm pretty sure, with the agents, Rich Paul and Clutch Sports and the Sixers, and it didn't really go anywhere. And then Rich Paul, I guess, and the Clutch Sports guys were sitting there courtside after this meeting. So this thing is just a total mess. It's just I can't. They would do anything to get rid of Ben Simmons. I just don't know who is going to take him after all of this.
I think there are a bunch of teams out there that would like him. The question is,
what do they have to give up?
What do they have to give up to get him? And that's where the rub really is. I think he's done in Philadelphia. I think Daryl Morey realizes that, but he also can't just give him away. And the other team has to have something that can match up salary-wise and everything else. I mean, look, it's so convoluted and screwy that you try to find teams that you think fit, and there are teams out there that you hear rumors about and all that other stuff. But again, here's another player that's getting paid not to play.
Yeah, right. Now, here, speaking of stuff like that, the most interesting thing yesterday to me that happened in New York basketball was this Stefan Bondi article in the Daily News where he did some research as to what the consequences would be for the Brooklyn Nets if Kyrie Irving played in home games.
Yeah, you pay the fines.
But, yeah, well, I know, but the fines are nothing to a professional basketball team.
I think Kyrie should pay the fines, not the Nets.
Well, whoever pay the fines.
Just pay the fines so you can play.
But I mean, so the first offense is a warning, which is just hilarious.
Yeah.
The second offense is a $1,000 fine.
Right.
The third offense is a $2,000 fine. And then the fourth offense to the rest of time is $5,000. So every time he would take the court from the fourth time on would be $5,000 fine.
So you can pay your way out of a pandemic.
Basically, yeah.
Essentially.
So why would you not do this if you were Joe Tsai or Kyrie Irving or whoever?
I don't think it's a good look for all those people that lost jobs because they refused the vaccine. And here's a guy that has privilege, and he can, or the club or the league. I don't necessarily know the league would allow it. It's a really bad look.
What do you mean the league? Why would the league not allow it?
Because it's a really bad look, man.
Thank you for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And don't forget to hit the red bell so you're notified when we have new content.